Hey guys, it's Fida and today I've come up with a chicken mandi recipe. So this is a really delicious recipe and it doesn't require much ingredients like chicken biryani or anything else. But you can get it in the perfect taste like how you buy it from outside. And also usually chicken mandi, the chicken doesn't have a lot of flavor, but in this video I'm also going to show you how to develop flavor in your chicken and it's going to be really delicious. And we're gonna first cook the chicken, steam it, and after that we're actually gonna coat it with some tomato mixture and fry it out a little so that it becomes a little bit crispy. And then we're gonna keep it in the rice, and then we're gonna put it with the rice and smoke it a little bit. And it's always good to smoke it because it gives a nice taste like we buy it from outside, from hotels and all. It's really good. Without any further ado, let's get on to making it.
First, let's start by marinating the chicken. For that, here I have 1 kg of chicken, and this is skinless chicken. But when we buy it from outside, we usually get it with skin. So it's always better to use skin. It's gonna make it a little bit more juicier. But as I'm making it at home, I don't want the skin, so I discarded it. But if you want, you can keep the skin. It's totally fine according to your preference. And as you can see, these are chicken pieces. I'm going to take a skewer and poke some holes in each of these chicken pieces so that the marinade mix will get really into it and the chicken is going to be really flavorful. So now we have to grind up some spices. For that, here I'm just using a mortar and pestle. And I'm going to grind up around 5 pieces of cardamom, 5 pieces of clove and around 2 sticks of cinnamon. I'm just going to put it in there and make it into a nice mix. But you don't want it to be that grounded, you just want the flavor to come out, so it doesn't have to be really powdery. A little bit of chunks will go. Add it into a plate. And into the same plate we need to add some more spices. A teaspoon of turmeric powder, a teaspoon of pepper powder, and enough salt. How much you'll need for the marinade. And then here I have around a cup of buttermilk. I'm just going to pour it into the spices. No matter what you're making, if it is a fried chicken or kabsa, any chicken, it's always good to use buttermilk in it because buttermilk makes the chicken really juicy. So after adding the buttermilk, just mix that around and then you can add in the chicken pieces. And then coat each piece really well in the buttermilk marinade. You don't want any piece sticking out without the marinade. So that's done, and let's just let it sit for around 8 hours overnight. But if you're in a hurry, 5 hours will do fine. So it's always better to keep overnight because all the flavors are gonna get into the chicken and it's gonna be really flavorful. And after it's marinated overnight, we're going to take this chicken and move it into another plate. So we need to take off all the excess buttermilk because we don't really need the buttermilk in the chicken mandi. So taking it off, and then you want to dip these pieces again in some cold water. So it's going to take off all the excess buttermilk in it. So you just take each piece, dip it in the cold water and remove off any excess buttermilk and transfer that to another vessel in which we're gonna cook the chicken. So now that's done, and here the chicken pieces are. And now it's time to cook these chicken pieces. For that, I'm gonna pour in water. So you need to pour in enough water to cover all the chicken fully in water, and we're gonna add in around a teaspoon of whole black peppercorns with salt as required and around 2 pieces of bay leaf. Then put it onto the stove, close the lid and cook it for around 15 minutes in medium-high flame. And by the time the chicken is cooking, we're gonna make the tomato puree. For that, here I have 3 tomatoes. These are medium-sized tomatoes. I'm just gonna cut them randomly into small pieces so that we can blend them. After the tomatoes are cut up, we're gonna put it into the blender, and without any water, we're just gonna blend it and make it into a puree. So the tomato puree is totally done. We're gonna set it aside. So it's been around 15 minutes and my chicken is totally cooked. I'm gonna take it out of the stove and drain it off from the water. So take each chicken piece out of the water and transfer that to another plate. And now, don't throw this stock away, we're going to use it for cooking our rice. And here the chicken pieces are ready, let's set it aside, and now we're going to measure out the chicken stock. So we need approximately 5.5 cups of the chicken stock, but if you don't have 5.5 cups, what you can do is add enough more water to reach it to 5.5 cups. So here I had 5.5 cups, so I'm not going to add any more water, but if you don't have, make sure you add the water. And into this 5.5 cups of the stock, we're going to add in the tomato puree. Mix that around really well. And into it, we're going to add some salt as required. There is salt in the chicken also, so make sure you add as required, do not add too much. And into the same pan in which we cook the chicken, I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of ghee. You can also use butter, but it is always better to use ghee. It gives a really nice taste. And into it, I'm gonna add in bay leaves, cinnamon, cardamom, and cloves. Around 2 to 3 pieces of each of it. And then I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of garlic and half a tablespoon of ginger paste. So just saute that here and there just really well. And add in 2 onions. These onions are just randomly sliced. And then we're gonna saute it until the onions are just nice and cooked and soft. You don't want it to be golden brown or anything, just nicely cooked, and it should just be soft. Once it's soft, we're gonna add in the measured chicken broth from the tomato puree and the chicken stock. And then into it, I'm gonna add in a cube of chicken stock. And adding this cube is just optional. And I'm using Maggi, so just mix that around really well and let it boil. And by the time it's boiling, here I have 3 cups of rice, which is washed and soaked in water for 10 minutes. 10 minutes will be enough. You can use basmati rice or Mandi rice, anything will do fine. I've drained this rice now, and once this mixture comes to a boil, I'm gonna dump in all the rice. But before that, I'm gonna add in a dry lemon and around 4 whole chilies, just whole. And I'm gonna dump in all of the 3 cups of rice. And then you can close the lid and cook this rice for around 10 minutes, and by 10 minutes it'll be ready. Meanwhile, I'm gonna make a mixture to coat my cooked chicken and fry it with. For that, here I have 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Into it, I'm gonna add in a tablespoon of chili powder and salt as required. I'm also gonna pour in a tablespoon of water to just loosen up the consistency a little bit and mix that up. And here the rubbing paste is ready. I'm gonna put all of this into the cooked chicken and just rub the chicken fully with this paste. Coat the full chicken just with this paste. Make sure you cover everything really well. This paste is going to give a lot more flavor and color to the chicken, so it's going to be really good. Coat it really well. And here the chicken is rubbed with the paste. Now we're going to fry it, so I'm going to pour in a little bit of oil. Not enough to deep fry. We're not going to deep fry it, just a little bit. We're going to burn it a little bit so that we get that smoky taste. And it's going to be a little bit crispy. So add in around a tablespoon of oil, place in the chicken pieces, and I'm going to burn a little bit so that we get that smoky taste. Now after that's done, I'm going to place the chicken into the cooked rice. So as you can see, my rice is cooked, so I'm going to place each chicken piece into the cooked rice. And you can see that each chicken piece is slightly burnt, so that's what is going to give a nice and smoky taste. It's going to be delicious. So you're going to make some space towards this side so that we can keep the charcoal. For that, I'm going to burn a piece of charcoal. If you don't have charcoal at home, you can burn a piece of coconut shell and just do the same thing. So I'm going to keep it into a bowl, into a steel bowl, and place that into the mandi right there. And I'm going to pour in around a tablespoon of oil into it. So if you're using coconut shell also, just pour in a tablespoon of oil and close it with the lid as soon as you pour in the oil. Let it just stay like that with the flame on for around 5 minutes, and here the mandi will be ready. And it's always good to do this because it's gonna give the mandi a bit more of a smoky effect and taste. It's gonna be really delicious if you do this. And now the mandi is ready, so you can go ahead and serve it. So mandi is not always flavorful, but if you make it in this way, it's gonna remain the same but gonna be a lot more flavorful and tastier. So I hope you try it. It's really delicious.
Thank you so much for watching. Hope you liked it, and if you did, please don't forget to give me a big thumbs up down below. Also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Thanks once again.